Hey, welcome to Office Chats by Breakroom. I'm so excited to be sharing this episode with you today. If you didn't know, today is World Mental Health Day, and the overall objective is to bring awareness to mental health issues that people are facing from around the world. Today, I've decided to switch it up a bit and cool it on the job talk. Although careers are very important, mental health is also important. So, I'm going to bring you an episode today where we are talking specifically about hobbies and how to find some passions outside of the workplace. Because while work is important, it's not our entire life, and we have to learn how to enjoy life outside of the workplace. So, without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to my co host and we'll dive in deep on how you can start to think about finding hobbies to get into. Enjoy the episode.
All right, buckle up because this deep dive is taking us straight into the land of hobbies. You sent over this monster article from Breakroom Buddha, 80 plus adult field trips and hobbies to explore in 2024. And honestly, it has overwhelm written all over it. I mean, 80 options. Who has time for all that?
That's the thing. It's not about conquering all 80, is it? It's like the author snuck in a philosophical message alongside those permission slips they mention. It's about shifting gears from that work is life mentality to rediscovering a passion for, well, anything.
Okay, so instead of drowning in options, where do we even dip our toes in first?
What's fascinating is how many of these field trips, as the article calls them, are things we walk past every day without a second thought. Breweries, for example. Turns out there's a whole world behind that pint beyond just, this is hobby.
Right, I saw that. Learning about the brewing process at the brewery. Talk about a field trip with potential perks. But it's not like we're all suddenly going to become brewmasters.
And that's the beauty of this whole approach. It's not about becoming an expert. It's about tapping into that curiosity we had as kids. Remember when just figuring out how something worked was exciting enough? The article even highlights how some hobbies, like painting or photography, are things we might have tried before and left behind. This is like a nudge to dust those off or dive into something wildly different.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. I was hooked the second I saw urban exploration on that list. Talk about a hobby with an air of mystery.
Right. It's not your average walk in the park, is it? Exploring abandoned buildings, uncovering hidden histories, there's a certain thrill to it.
It's like stepping into a time capsule. But it's not just about the adrenaline rush, is it? There's that element of historical discovery, almost like being an urban archaeologist.
Exactly. And it makes you see your city in a whole new light. Speaking of seeing things differently, this article also talks about letterboxing, which, let me tell you, is not about dropping mail off at the post office.
Okay, you've got my attention. What is letterboxing then?
Imagine a treasure hunt, but instead of gold, you're looking for hidden boxes with logbooks to mark your discovery. And here's the cool part. Each box usually has a unique stamp, so you collect those as souvenirs.
So it's like a combination of hide and seek, art appreciation, and maybe a bit of history thrown in.
Precisely. And that seems to be a recurring theme throughout this whole article. It's about breaking free from that rigid, routine-driven mindset and rediscovering a sense of play and exploration in our adult lives.
And who couldn't use a bit more of that? But with so many options, it's easy to get lost in the what-ifs and never actually take that first step. So how do we choose? How do we even begin to narrow it down?
That's where the article gets really interesting, because it's less about finding the perfect hobby and more about understanding why these activities appeal to us in the first place.
Let's dive into this why then. We've got a whole section on outside of your comfort zone hobbies. I mean, talk about a section title that makes you want to grab a comfy blanket and stay put.
That's the point, isn't it? This article is full of those gentle nudges to reconsider what we consider too far out or too risky. Maybe it's a fear of failure or what other people think, but sometimes we need to remember that hobbies are supposed to be fun, not just productive.
Okay, I see what you mean. I'm already feeling brave. Fire spinning and beekeeping are in that section.
Beekeeping. Now, that's an interesting one. It's not exactly something you can just pick up on a whim, is it? It's a whole world of understanding those tiny buzzing creatures, but it's also about creating something sustainable, something that benefits both the bees and the beekeeper.
Exactly. And it's not like you're just making honey to put on toast. You're becoming a part of a delicate ecosystem. This article is really making me reevaluate what I think I'm capable of.
And that, I think, is the most important takeaway. It's not just about finding a new hobby. It's about finding a new way of thinking about yourself.
Real quick, before we continue the episode, I have something special to share with you. Feeling stuck in your career? Then that means it's time for a career comeback. In just 30 days, or less if you're feeling unstoppable, this on-demand audio coaching experience will help you blow up your old career and start fresh. Packed with practical advice, actionable tips, and daily motivation, this guide will take you from lost to leveled up in no time. Whether you're coming back from a career break or just craving a change, the Career Comeback Guide is an on-demand experience designed to have your back every step of the way. Ready to make your comeback story one for the books? Click the link in the show notes labeled 1-Month Job Search Guide and start reclaiming your career path today. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Now let's talk about running fan pages as a hobby. I never would have considered that one.
Me neither. I mean, it's all about those online communities, right? But you'd think it's a little less hands-on than, say, knitting or wood carving.
That's where it gets really interesting. You're not just hitting the like button on posts. You're crafting a whole space, a virtual hangout for people who share your passion. Think about all the online communities that have sprung up around everything from obscure historical events to niche musical genres. It's truly amazing how people can connect over even the most unexpected interests.
I can see how that would be a real passion project. You're not just posting for the sake of posting. You're cultivating a space where people can exchange knowledge, discuss theories, and even geek out together. And speaking of passion projects, I'm intrigued by at-home brewing. Who knew that was something you could do in your kitchen?
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? You can have a whole mini brewery in your home. Imagine that, creating your own beer, cider, or even wine. And it's not just about the end result, it's about the process itself. You're learning about the science of fermentation, you're experimenting with different flavors, and you're connecting with a whole world of brewing traditions.
I'm picturing a backyard barbecue, complete with homemade brews. Now that's a party I could get behind.
And the great thing is, you don't need to be some master brewer to start. There are plenty of resources and kits out there for beginners.
Okay, this is starting to sound a lot more achievable. Now we've got one more section to tackle, and it's the one that really makes this article feel like it's meant for us, for grown-ups with a sense of adventure, the tried and tested hobbies section.
Right. We've got everything from painting to pottery, photography to woodworking. There's a certain nostalgia to that list, isn't there?
It's like going back to those things we loved as kids and giving them a fresh look. It's about rediscovering a joy in the simple things, things that might have fallen by the wayside in the hustle of adulthood.
I'm suddenly tempted to buy a set of paints and start doodling. And, there's something special about that kind of creativity. It's not about being a master artist. It's about allowing yourself to experiment, to create something just for the sake of creating.
You're right. There's a freedom in that, an opportunity to tap into that creative spark that's been waiting for the right moment to be rekindled. And that's what this whole article is about, isn't it? It's about giving ourselves permission to be curious, to experiment, to explore, and to embrace that childlike wonder that sometimes gets lost in the shuffle of everyday life. It's funny how we can get so caught up in this whole adulting thing that we forget to just play.
It's true, yeah. This whole conversation has been like a permission slip to rediscover that sense of joy and wonder that we maybe tucked away somewhere along the line.
Absolutely. And the best part is it doesn't have to be this huge life-altering decision. It can be as simple as picking up a paintbrush or joining a book club.
Yeah.
Or even just taking a different route on your next walk and seeing where it leads you.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the spirit of this whole 80+ hobbies challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about those small steps that can lead to big shifts.
Yeah, it's about adding a little more color to our lives, wouldn't you say?
I love that analogy. And just like mixing paint, sometimes the most unexpected combinations create the most beautiful results.
Oh, for sure.
Who knew that combining technology and treasure hunting could be so addicting? Geocaching? Anyone.
Count me in. I'm already downloading the app. But seriously, this deep dive has reminded me that it's never too late to try something new.
Right.
To step outside of our comfort zones and to rediscover those passions that might have been dormant for a while.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not about being good at it. It's about the process, the
Yeah.
joy of learning, the satisfaction of creating something, with your own two hands.
You're preaching to the choir. I'm feeling very inspired to sign up for that pottery class I've been eyeing.
That's fantastic. And who knows, maybe you'll discover a hidden talent for sculpting clay.
Or maybe I'll just end up with a lopsided mug and a newfound appreciation for the art of pottery. Either way, it's a win-win.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey,
Yeah,
the imperfections, the unexpected detours along the way.
for sure. So, to our listeners, we leave you with this. What's one small step you can take today to inject a little more play, a little more exploration, a little more you into your life? Don't overthink it. Just go for it. You never know where that first step might lead.
And on that note of adventure, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those passions burning bright.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Office Chats by Breakroom Buddha. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it and you took something from it that you can take into your own careers. Before I let you go, I want you to visit aicareercopilot.com. This is where you can find a plethora of resources if you are struggling to update your resume, if you don't know how to answer questions in an interview and need some feedback, or if you just need some pep talk and some extra career coaching to help push you along in your job search or your career. This website has it all, and it all uses AI to help you accomplish these things. So once again, you can go to aicareercopilot.com to get started right away or check the show notes and I'll drop a link for you.